So the first lyric in that song is, how much more are we going to take? And I have to say, when I heard this song and I looked at the lyrics, I listened to the song first, and when I heard the first verse, I was a little apprehensive. I thought, how much more are we going to take? And it was talking about, how difficult life can be, and when are we going to stop dealing with all of this? But the way the song turns on a dime really got me in my heart. My eyes filled up. So when I look at how much more are we going to take, there are two ways of looking at this. How much more are we going to put up with? How much more are we willing to put up with in the relative world, in this world that we live in? How much more? Somebody just said to me today that they were so over, they could no longer have any patience for BS and not belief systems, the other one. That it was just, they were over it. And I get it. So how much more are we going to take of BS? How much more are we going to take of lies if we see them as lies? How much more are we going to take of the world we live in that's not showing up as its best? That's one way to look at this. Another way to look at this is, how much more are we going to take? How much more are you willing to fill yourself up with the truth? How much more of love, only love, how much more love are you willing to take into your heart? How much more patience are you willing to take? How much more peace? How much more kindness? And how much more love are you willing to take from the world that gives itself over to you? So you can look at one of those things or the other, but it made me really think. It really made me think about our brain. Now, in the consciousness studies class, we're using this book called Buddha's Brain, and it's very technical, and it talks about the brain and its many capacities. And as a spiritual minister, as a teacher, it's interesting to be looking at the brain from a scientific point of view. Not from a spiritual point of view, perhaps, although I think science and spirituality are the same, but just looking at it from the relative facts, breaking down the brain and saying, well, this does this, and this does this, and this is why you feel this way. But then studying the brain as it relates to the mind. Is my mind my brain? Is my brain my mind? Well, no, it's not. The mind is what is using the brain. And so my mind, my individual mind, is using this thing that relates and reacts a certain way, which can help me understand why perhaps I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. But I have the ability, how much more am I willing to take? How much more of what's behind my mind am I willing to filter through my mind in order to come from only love? So you can look at this one of two ways. The lyrics, how much more are we going to take? How many nights do we have to lie awake? How many tears are we going to cry? We can wish until the well runs dry, but what happens when the sky above runs out of every single shooting star for you to wish on? What happens? What if every good intention's only meant to go so far? So when I looked at this from 2 points of view, the first point of view is your critical mind. All of you have it. You have a mind that has critical thinking at the center of its core. You think, you process, you judge, you have opinions, you make decisions. That is the critical thinking going on inside of your mind. It looks at the world and processes it. Only love can save us now. So what this lyricist is saying, that it's basically saying the same thing as love only. But here's the thing. You've got your critical thinking mind. How much more am I going to take? There's my critical thinking mind. How much more of this am I willing to take? How much more of that am I willing to take? But then you've got your intuitive mind. What is your intuitive mind? That's God. That is that thing inside of you that understands not from a place of critical thinking, but that understands from a very dense, honest, truthful place of a spiritual knowing that far transcends what you're being shown and seen. So when I look at this, how much more am I willing to take? I actually get caught up in both sides, and I would tend to think you all do. There are moments when I'm caught up over here. How much more of this do I have to take? This physical world. And then there are times when I sit and I think to myself, there is so much more than this. Like we talked about the telescope with Reverend Kelly. You know, there are billions of galaxies out beyond what we thought was nothing. We thought was done. There's our galaxy. Here's what it is. Nope, just the beginning. So you have a choice in this world today. You have a choice because you actually know. And once you know, you can't go back to sleep. Once you know, you can't pretend you don't know. Once you know that it's not just all of this out here, but it is all of this in here, and it's everything behind it, that it is infinite in scope. So you have a choice. You can spend your life in critical thinking, judging everything, questioning everything, wanting the science to prove everything, or you can step back and listen for what your heart is telling you. And I don't mean your heart as an intelligence center. I mean the metaphor of the heart, for what your intuitive side is telling you. So, as I was putting this talk together, I found this study, and I got wrapped up in it. And I'm reading this study of how the world affects our beliefs and such, how critical thinking changes us. And there's an interesting thing. So this is a study on how humans show a natural tendency to discount bad news based on their age. So what it told me, what I understood from it was this study of at what age do we see bad news and develop a belief about it? And at what age do we perhaps see bad news and just say, oh, okay, that's just a fact, and just move on? Well, I think you're going to be surprised to know that from the age of 9 to 26, this study showed an inaccurate updating of beliefs. So when you are from 9 years old, it says, to the time you're 26. I thought that was weird, though. It's like, 26. Why 26? What's 26? But anyway, from 9 to 26, it says that your mind discounts beliefs in an inaccurate way. But this is what they meant by it. From 9 to 26, you may be told how dangerous something is or proven how dangerous something is, and you're like, okay, whatever. And you just take risks. And you don't let it affect you. Because I would say up to 9, there's been this intuitive knowing as a child. There's been this innocence, this place in mind where you know who you are and you're not looking for people to tell you who you are, even though they're happy to do so along the way. And from 9 to 26, apparently, we are processing beliefs based on this kindness that's going on inside of us, this expansive, intuitive knowing that's not giving it much play in our minds. Now, I want you to notice, though, the way they put this. It showed an inaccurate updating of beliefs because scientifically, it's not good. They believe it's not good. You're not ready yet to process everything you're seeing and create beliefs that will help you to know, don't try this again, it doesn't work. Don't go here, they're bad people. Don't travel to this country, it's dangerous. It's why Mindy has children in this age range. My son is in this age range. He is very forthcoming and he takes a lot of risks that I perhaps at my age may not take, or I might. And then it says from 27 and up, it showed an ability to accurately update beliefs based on information received. Meaning, after you get older and the more you live in this world, you are being indoctrinated into the world's beliefs. Which is why I see so many people literally hinging on what's going on out here. Even though I see a big movement for people to stop that and move into here and say, what's going on in here? And what beliefs am I being given out here that are contradictory to the beliefs I'm getting in here? And where can they merge? So it's interesting. It's called realistic and unrealistic optimism and realistic and unrealistic pessimism. And when I saw that, what is realistic optimism? According to this study, Realistic optimism means that you can be optimistic, but you have to be realistic as well. Realistic as to what's going on in the world, and don't just be optimistic. Be willing to see what's going on and gravitate your beliefs to the proof of what's going on. Well, look at your world right now. What would you have optimism about? Where would you be optimistic? Now, it depends on your AEP, your already established premise that you've already come to believe. I am a very optimistic person. But there's also a whole thing on, this is a very long study, by the way, realistic and optimistic pessimism. And what is that based on? Is it realistic to be pessimistic in any way, shape, or form? That's a really good question. Is that something to aspire to? I aspire to be pessimistic in the right way. I was reading this going, really? You really think it's okay to be pessimistic? Because it's proven you should be pessimistic. In today's political climate, I hear conversations, and I am part of conversations all over the place. And there are people that are so pessimistic about what's going to happen. And when I give my normal reaction, which is, it's all going to unfold perfectly, I swear some people actually want to hit me because it's just so against the grain of the pessimistic viewpoint that's going on right now. Even the optimists. You know, if someone brings up pessimists, now you've got two things going on. But I want you to think for today, I want you to go into your own mind and find out where your pessimist and optimist are fighting one another. And then locate where each one is coming from. Why are you pessimistic here? Why are you optimistic here? Try to find out where those beliefs originate inside of you. Are they originating in the world of form, or are they originating from somewhere else? So the title of my talk today is, How Much More? And it's funny, Alex sent me this slide, and it seemed a little too la-la landy for me, a little too romantic. But then I looked at it and I went, no, what's interesting about this for me is I'm of the opinion, how much more means how much more am I willing to take in? But then this box, I don't know if the box has been opened and the hearts have been let out, or if the box has been opened up to bring all of the hearts in. It could be either way. So I decided to let it go. So how much more? You can take it either way. Are we going to take, or are we going to take from our minds, these intellectual, creative, critical thinking minds? Or are we going to take from the billions of galaxies that have just been discovered? Are we going to allow our lives to literally hinge on the facts that we are being presented? Or are we going to allow our lives to expansively grow based on the infinite knowingness of the universe? When I put it that way, I would assume you understand there's an obvious answer to that question because I'm putting it in a biased way. Now, someone else could get up here and stand here, I can think of their names, and argue the exact opposite. Are you going to believe all that stuff about what's the heart and intuition and all, or are you just going to believe what you see? And these are the facts. Well, I'm not going to argue for either. Yes, I am. I'm going to argue for my side. However, I respect that side of the equation. So much so that my talk today is really based on the intersection of the two. Because there are people who are so spiritual, they're no worldly good. They are so oblivious to what is going on that they're really no good to help what's going on. I believe you can have a critical mind, you can use critical thinking to look at what you see, understand what's going on in the world, clearly understand, make your opinions, have your opinions, and yet allow your intuitive knowing to guide you through them. Not stop, pitch a tent, and settle down in the midst of all of that's going on. So that's what I wanted to bring up today. This concept when it says, how much more are you willing to know about yourself? Remember who you are. And it's in the song. There's a lyric in the song, and I'll paraphrase it, about have we really forgotten to remember who we are. It doesn't say who we are, but we really forget how much we know. So the question is, can you look at the world around you? And certainly as we go through as a country, these next 26 days or whatever it is, before we go into an election, which perhaps it might be way more than that, can we as a country, as a populace, use our minds intelligently, critically, see what's going on, make assessments based on what has happened in this world, and yet stand in that, the facts, and still know that there is something more, something bigger, something that transcends this. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "We would do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves." We would do well to listen to this inner voice, because this inner voice shows us a world that works, shows us a love that is at the center of everything, no matter what. This thing inside of me, somewhere along the line, coming into religious science, I sat and listened to Dr. David Walker speak, and every time he spoke, I had tears. Every time he said something that related to my life, it just brought up so much inside of me. And it wasn't David's words. It wasn't what he was saying. And it's not my words or what I'm saying. It's not even Ernest Holmes' words and what he is saying. What it is there's something inside of you that when you hear whatever it is you hear, when you see a sunrise or an ocean, that speaks to the largeness that you are, speaks to the infinite quality of your soul, of who you truly are. And all of this gets put into perfect perspective. Your mind is creative. Going back to just the brain, just scientifically, what you focus on expands. Energy cannot be destroyed. Who you are, what you are, will never end. But you can change your relationship to anything by using your brain in a capacity that allows your mind to shift from one thing to another. What I'm suggesting today is that if you're all the way over here and you are stuck in the facts, come on back. And if you're all the way over here, ignoring everything, living in la-la land, as we like to say, come on back. Because at the center of your being is such a powerful, divine human expression that you have the capacity to not only think based on what you're seeing, but to think based on what you're feeling. And not feeling about what you're seeing, but what you are feeling from this infinite knower inside of you, this wisdom inside of you that already knows the answer. You see, I already know the answer. I already know the answer in my heart that this world we're living in right now, everyone experiencing a pandemic, our country going through a political upheaval, through the riots and the protests, everything we're going through, looking all over the globe at all the countries going through their myriad of problems, I already know that all of this is still the evolution of good. Not good as in God, the evolution of something that will bubble up and reform what's going on. So, whatever happens in the relative world, I will speak my truth. I will know who I vote for. I will know what I believe and stand for. An article came out in the LA Times this week about the Supreme Court starting to etch away at gay marriage, to start getting rid of the rights that right now are gays and lesbians and transgenders have protected within the Constitution. I see that. Does it upset me? Yes, momentarily. But then I have to remember, there it is. I see what they're trying to do. I will vote my mind to make sure that doesn't happen. And yet, still behind that, The reason why you will probably not see me get all crazy and angry about these things is because I still believe and know that it is unfolding perfectly, and it is coming forth for a reason. Just as Ernest Holmes said, we would do well to listen to our inner voice, or, as Jordan Smith said, only love can look inside a human heart and see us for who we are. And who we are would be enough. And there's the rub, isn't it? Who we are would be enough. So what's it going to be? Critical thinking or intuitive knowing? Or how about both? Only love can handle and heal and transcend what is going on. Now, Kelly and I talked about love earlier. And we talked about love. It's not some mental thing, this concept of love. It is an energy that can't be stopped. Cannot be stopped. You can turn away from it. You can push it out of your life in your experience of it, but it doesn't mean that it's not still going on vibrantly, passionately, expansively. Only love can look inside a human heart and know exactly what it's looking at. But here's the thing. You are love. No matter what you're feeling, no matter what's going on, no matter who you read in an LA Times wants to take away your rights, no matter who believes something about you that is really their problem, not yours, it's still only love. You cannot be changed by what anyone on the planet thinks. But you know how you can be changed? By what you think. And if you're willing to take our theme this month, love only, which I love that the song is only love. If you're willing to get that, and get that on a primal level, to realize that, yes, I have all these things going on in my body. I have a brain. I know more now about my brain than I ever wanted to know. I think Tiffany feels the same way. I have kidneys. I have a heart. I have lungs. I have all this stuff. But is it who I am? No, it is not. It's part of who I am, and it's who my mind continues to bring forth. But when you're looking at your life, any aspect of your life that feels like it's not what you want it to be, you have to know that you have the power to change it because you have a mind. And because you have a brain that uses the mind. And because you have a mind that behind the mind is the infinite intelligence of the universe pouring itself through you saying, now what are you going to do? Here's all this love. Here's all this creativity. Here's all this success, all this passion, all this prosperity, all of life pouring through your individual mind saying to you, what now? You can either listen to that and pour out your most magnificent version of your life, or you can take all of that and occupy it with what's going on. You can be, I love that it said 9 to 26 and then 26 and up. And it also says in this study that as you get older, the older you get, the better you are at taking all of this and creating beliefs that will keep you safe in life. And I got to tell you, I'm reading this like going, I was like, I couldn't believe that me at my age, I should be really good at looking at all of this and knowing exactly how to keep myself safe from the world around me. Most of you have taken mental muscle. You know how I feel about boundaries. You know how I feel about walls. They may protect you from what's on the other side of it, but you're also stuck on this side of it. I believe that when we really, really understand love only, I can navigate my way through all of life, not creating beliefs from what I'm experiencing, but experiencing what I have created beliefs about. Those are two very different ways of living. Are you going to let the world show you what to believe, or are you going to allow the world to show up based on what you believe? And I have this final quote for you, and it is this: never lose the love in your heart because of what you see in the world. Never lose the love in your heart because of what you see in the world. Do not let this world create your beliefs. You know who you are. Start there. And then bring to the world an understanding, a loving presence, an energetic field of pure intuitive knowing that allows you to study the brain and study the heart and understand everything that's going on, even allows you to get involved in politics. I love that Ann Monahan has sent me like 10 emails asking me to run for president. I just love her for that. It just makes me... And Kevin would love to be the first lady. I think it's called the first gentleman, but all right. I just love that. But here's the deal. When she first sent it to me, I just went, oh, no, no, no. I don't want to be involved in politics. You know why? Because I actually had a belief that if I got involved in politics, it could somehow sour me. I don't feel that anymore. I'm not running for anything, just to say. But I don't feel that anymore. This is the talk that I wanted to bring to you that says you can involve yourself in anything if you remember who you are and act appropriately from that understanding. So, once again, never lose the love in your heart because of what you see in the world. And more importantly, be willing to see yourself in the world. Be willing to thrust yourself out into a world at large, because if you live the truth of who you are, the world needs you to live that out loud and proud, coming from love only, forgiving everything, remembering who you are, and seeing God everywhere you look, but primarily, first and foremost, seeing it when you look at yourself in the mirror. You have to be able to look at you and see God, and then take that out into your experience. And then we'll be able to hear this song, understand even the first two verses, which took me a bit to get to verse 3, and understand, yeah, I get it now. What if there are no more shooting stars to wish on? What if these great intentions are only meant to go so far? Because guess what? The great intentions are only meant to go so far, because eventually they have to stop being intentions and actually be things that you absolutely do. It is time for us to move past the great intentions we have in life and to start doing them, living them, and most importantly, being them. Namaste.